Hello, Namaskar. Welcome to my pod, the CAA Show. CAA, as all of you know, is Conversations and Analysis. My name is Juggi Bhasin. To become a subscriber, all you have to do is to press that red button on your screen, and subscription is, of course, completely free. So, yesterday in Parliament, one of the most significant and also one of the most disturbing political debates took place, that is on Operation Sindoor, where I don't think so these charges have ever been made before in parliamentary history. But the leader of the opposition, the LOP, he made these very, very serious charges on the government, on the present government of the day, that the government led by Prime Minister Modi had surrendered to Pakistan during Operation Sindoor. He also made the serious charge that the president of the United States was a liar. This is what the LOP said yesterday. And the third serious charge which he made was that a number of our Rafales had been shot down by Pakistan. Now, certainly the rejoinder came, and how it came late in the evening by the Prime Minister at the end of the session. And it completely pulverized these arguments of the LOP. But I want to go into what is called behind the scenes, go into more depth to see what is really beneath the surface, that why were these charges made in the first place? What are the implications of these charges made by Mr. Rahul Gandhi? And how did the Prime Minister, as I said, pulverize, destroy, decimate these charges completely? How did he do that? It's a fascinating story. And I, of course, want a little bit of your patience because I'm going to take some time. I'm going to bring up small little details which are very, very important in these matters. So what are we talking about here? Let's start right from the beginning. We are talking about war. We are talking about how countries conduct themselves during warfare. This is what it was really all about, Operation Sindoor. And the LOP charged that the government had very quickly surrendered to Pakistan. Now, how are wars conducted? Wars are not conducted, by adolescent behavior or by the whims and fancies of certain political people. Wars today, especially in today's day and age, because today we have technological wars, we have missile wars, we have drone warfare, all kinds of new elements have entered warfare. And therefore, you have to be very, very careful. You have to think it through. You have to see all the pros and cons before you launch into warfare. And that's perhaps a singular reason why such a militarily powerful country like Russia has, even today, not completely after 3 years, subjugated Ukraine completely, because it is not easy at all. And also because of the fact that Ukraine is backed by NATO also. But warfare is something in which you get into not headstrong, not with adolescent behavior. And that is exactly what the LOP was suggesting yesterday. That, of course, if we were in a winning position, then why did we not go the full way and take POK? And why did we stop? Why did we, as he said within quotes, he used the word surrender? On the face of it, of course, you can laugh at the whole thing, but it is not a laughable matter. It is a very, very serious matter. First of all, for the benefit of the LOP and all the people who are supporting, one thing should be made clear, that Pakistan might be nothing economically compared to us. But certainly they do have a very strong military. It is actually one of the strongest militaries in the world. If I'm not mistaken, it is number 7 or number 8 on the list of powerful militaries in the world. And therefore, if anybody thinks that in one day you can subjugate Pakistan and continue to beat them and they would do nothing back or not hit back at you, you're living in a fool's paradise. And taking of POK would mean that Pakistan would throw everything they have into POK. And what would have been the result, even if we had wanted to immediately, despite the fact that we are technologically, militarily, economically, I would say even politically, of course, very, very strong as compared to Pakistan. There's no comparison, actually. But even then, we would have taken huge casualties. There would have been a huge amount of bloodshed. Now, is this what the LOP wanted? He wanted to create chaos because that is what some politicians dream of, that create chaos and then step into it and then take over the reins of power. Was that the game plan? I'm not accusing him of that, but I'm saying, was that the game plan? And that is why this call was made by the LOP. Why did you surrender? Why did you not go the full way? These are not responsible statements at all. Let me give you another very interesting example, a recent example, the Israel-Iran war. Now, what had happened in the Israel-Iran war? The United States entered into the last phase, practically the last few days of the war, when they unleashed their B-2 bombers. And these bombers then threw that famous, that bunker buster weapon, which are supposed to have obliterated Iranian nuclear facilities, though some people doubt that they have been obliterated. But the point of the matter is something different. The point of the matter is the war was continuing for a number of, almost for, I think, a week or 10 days. And the Israelis had completely flattened out. They had dominated the Iranian airspace. And only after they had done that, that the Americans finally entered the picture and then they unleashed their weapon on Iran. And then some significant victory was achieved. What is the point? The point really being that warfare today are things which develop over a period of time. Even, as I said, the Israel-Hamas war, it still hasn't completely subsided even today. Warfare takes a long, long time. Is this what the LP wants, that it continues and continues? The country completely weakens. It completely gets scrambled. Because something very significant which the Prime Minister said yesterday was that the lecture or the aim of the strike on Pakistan was absolutely clear. And in this sense, I think this was not a war which we had entered into or we wanted. It was an operation. It was a surgical operation, a surgical strike which India carried out. And the primary objective of that was to decimate the terrorist camps and teach the terrorist handlers and the masterminds a lesson they would never forget. That was the stated objective. It was not to wage war against Pakistan for no rhyme or reason. Why would we? Think about it. Economically, we are doing pretty okay. We have the fastest growing economy in the world. We are in the process of negotiating trade deals. We have already done that with the United Kingdom. We are in the process of negotiating a trade deal with the European Union. There are other significant deals which are being realized. There are even inroads being now made between India and China. And of course, with the US, there is back and forth is going on, but hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel. When all this thing is happening, industrial activity up, manufacturing is up, we are becoming one of the biggest defense. We are becoming completely self-reliant in defense. We're on the road. We are actually now exporting weapons to all over the world. All this is happening. Poverty alleviation themes on track. Why would we risk a complete all-out war with Pakistan at this point in time and imperil and put everything into jeopardy? Why would we do that? Or is this what the LOP wants? And therefore, I'm arguing here that this was a very, very dangerous suggestion, made by Rahul Gandhi, that you surrendered. And he twisted facts. When the statements were read in the House by the defense minister, by the home minister also, that after the strikes were carried out, the DGMO of Pakistan was informed, which obviously that is what you are supposed to do, because you have to convey to the other side that, yes, we have achieved our objective. We are not interested in a full-fledged war with you, because that was not the objective. That was not the primary objective at all. Why doesn't the LOP get this in his head? That is not exactly what we wanted. We wanted our objectives were achieved, were realized. Why would we, as I say, step into the swarm and get sucked in? Why would we want to do that? The POK battle is a long battle. And I gave the example of Israel, America, and Iran, that sometimes These things take a long time. They take a lot of planning. And yes, certainly we do want Pakistan occupied Kashmir back in our fold. But again, those are things which their time will come, but not right now. Right now the objective was to teach Pakistan a lesson, which we did. But of course, we know the sequence of events that Pakistan retaliated, and then, of course, India mounted this massive retaliation. That is the first part. The second part, which is a very disturbing part, is that this constant narrative being made about the Rafales, that 5 Rafales, 6 Rafales were down. Now, in this matter, I have done earlier podcasts also, and I've said that maybe the government could have initially, even if whatever. We don't even know. Nobody knows the exact number. And nobody even knows if a single Rafale has been damaged or brought down. Because the only clear statement which I've heard is that no pilot has been injured in any encounters, air encounters, or that all our pilots are safe. And therefore, one is only assuming that something has happened to the Rafales. But even if something had happened, I argued in earlier podcasts, talk about it and then move on, and that these things happen. We have won the larger conflict. We have emerged victorious, and even if we had a little bit of, there have been some little bit of engagement and some damage has been done, but that's part of warfare. But if you have not done it, then the reason given by the government is also pretty solid, where they are saying that we don't want to give operational details because they will be used by the enemy against us, which also is a very good argument. Now, leave it at that. Why is the LOP, why is the Congress party especially, why are they insisting on these Rafales again and again? And then, as the Prime Minister said yesterday, and now it's becoming more and more apparent that a lot of the arguments which the Congress party, some members of the opposition, not all, I would say, I'm being very careful out here, not all, but some members of the opposition, the arguments which they are making, especially as I said, on the surrender bit, on the Rafale bit, on the US thing, are arguments precisely being made by Pakistan. And therefore, I'm not jumping to the gun and saying that the Congress party is acting on the behest of Pakistan. I'm not certainly saying that. But are there no thinking minds, no clear minds in the Congress party that you're not even seeing that your arguments are a phototype, a photo paste copy of what Pakistan is saying? Is that the objective? We understand that the concept of patriotism and nationalism really doesn't find much favor in the Congress party, in today's Congress party. Fine. You don't like it, you don't like it for whatever reasons. But the fact is, nationalism still is the glue. Patriotism still is the glue which holds India together. We are a country of disparate, different people with different ways of thinking, different castes, different religions, different ideologies, and patriotism, nationalism is the glue which holds all of us together. And when you mess around with these two things, are you not creating an explosive situation? And this is precisely what the approach of the Congress party has been in this debate on Operation Sindoor. At first, I thought that a lot of these things were hyped up, by a very overactive, imaginative media. But when I listened to the arguments this time by Tarun Gogoi, for instance, from the Congress party, I listened to the arguments of Mr. Kharge, I listened to the arguments of Priyanka Gandhi, I listened to the arguments of Rahul Gandhi. I was left stunned. Which world or which planet are these people living in? You are, you are, you might not have criticized the army directly, but inadvertently, it means the same thing. By criticizing and saying, within quotes, lack of political will and this surrender to Pakistan, you are actually saying that our armed forces went and kind of surrendered to Pakistan. That is the implication. Because whether you like it or not, the all armed forces of the world, they carry out the political will of the government of the day. It should be as clear as that. And there's something which is very, very significant we have to bear. That even when we achieved a most spectacular victory, because I still believe the 1971 victory against Pakistan was perhaps the greatest military victory we have ever won in our history. But even during that time, nobody from the opposition, nobody from the opposition questioned Indira Gandhi at that time the way that the Prime Minister of Mr. Modi is being questioned. Nobody used words like surrender and all that. This has never ever happened in Indian history. This is the first time this kind of an argument is taking place, and then you begin to wonder that why is this taking place? And I will give you my reasons for that. I have a totally different reasoning. I'm not for a moment even arguing, which a lot of people have been arguing, that some of the opposition leaders are in the play, or they are in the books of vested foreign interest. That might be true or not true, but I have no proof of that. But there are certain other reasons why I think they are doing that. But the very fact that they are doing all this is extremely, as I said, distressing. It is distasteful. It makes you wonder that why we are not completely united as a country when it comes to facing, an existential enemy like Pakistan. The third argument about Pakistan-China nexus, which the LOP made, was ridiculous. I mean, the Pakistan-China nexus has been known to everyone for a very, very long time. What is the big thing about it? That China, Pakistani pilots are being trained in China. They have been being trained both in China and in the US for a long, long time. What is the big thing about it? There is no big thing. They have set up an AI center. He said, of course, these are facts which everybody knows. There is no big thing about it. Right? There are military exchanges which are happening between friendly countries, and certainly Pakistan and China are friendly countries. What's the big deal about it? We know some of their defense platforms, their air defense system of China makes. So, yeah, they were there. Fine. What's the big thing about it? Now, at this point, let's talk a little bit also about this acquisition which you made about the President of the United States. I mean, I have in my life never seen uh, such irresponsible statements that why are you not calling the President of the United States a liar? Look, technically, we have made our stand clear that no conversation took place between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump during the entire period of conflict. In fact, the revelation which really was made yesterday was that, and the oblique message which the Prime Minister was trying to convey when he said that I had the Vice President, Mr. Vance, call me up. And I could not take his call initially because I was in briefings. Then later I called him back. What was he trying to convey? He was trying to convey that we do things at our own timing, at our own convenience. We are not here fulfilling the wishes or the whims and fancies of foreign powers. Nothing of that. So that was a message being conveyed, but obviously it was lost on the opposition, on the Congress party. But the point which I am making is something which is a little different. If you remember in the 1971 conflict, the relationship between Indira Gandhi and the president of that day, Richard Nixon, the relationship was terrible, terrible. Richard Nixon actually has made racist comments about Indira Gandhi, about Indians. This is all a matter of record. This is not something which I am making up. Okay? And despite that, Indira Gandhi never ever made those kind of comments about Richard Nixon. What's the message out here? Today, the LOP, you inherit this legacy of Indira Gandhi. And what are you saying? That you should take up the phone and call up the President of the United States and say to him, you're a liar. You are lying. Is this what you're advocating? And not because we are afraid of the US or we are a subjugated partner of the US or something of that sort, because that's not how relationships are conducted between two friendly countries. Let the US president give his own interpretation of things. He's fine. He's doing it. It's fine. But we are no one to just call him up and say that you are a liar. Is this the way you speak to foreign heads of government? And this is what the LOP is saying. And when you say this is adolescent behavior, I don't even say this is adolescent behavior. I would say this is extremely irresponsible behavior, almost borderline devious behavior. What exactly are you trying to do? Are you trying to crash India United States relationship completely? Is that what is the goal out there? Because if tomorrow, if our prime minister calls up the president of the US and calls him a liar, the relationship is finished. That's all. It takes one phone call to finish that relationship. Or for that matter, if the president of the United States calls up the prime minister and says the same thing, then the relationship is finished also. Is this what you really, really want? There is a trade deal being negotiated. Yes, there are lots of problems which are coming in this trade deal. There's a lot of back and forth which is going on. There are negotiators working overtime. There are all kinds of accusations, counter accusations. But again, in the media, officially nothing much has been said except that these negotiations are continuing. And therefore, instead of giving that space, instead of giving that time for that to fructify, because at the end of the day, please remember the relationship with the US is extremely important. It is worth almost $100 billion. And the projection is that in the next few years, it could rise up to as much as $500 billion, which is like huge. It probably would be one of the most important relationships, trade, commerce, commercial relationships in the world. And you want to crash that just by this one phone call, which Prime Minister makes to the President of the US and says, "You are a liar." Is this what the LOP wants? I mean, the height of irresponsible behavior was on display yesterday, and it is extremely, extremely troubling. Every suggestion which was made in that presentation, and by the way, there's something interesting which I want to comment about his presentation yesterday. As I said, it was give the man some marks. It was a forceful presentation, but I wish this forceful presentation to serve the end of the Congress party had gone in a different direction. Just imagine for a moment. Just imagine if they had not taken this line, they had not taken this track. Instead, they had risen on the floor of the parliament, the LOP, and he had said that I fully support the government in the Operation Sindoor. We applaud our armed forces. We are fully behind the government. That's all he had to say, and I can guarantee you the support for the Congress party would have shot through the roof all over the country. That's all they had to say. Instead, you are questioning that patriotism and the nationalism. It's not only the prime minister. You think you're only targeting the prime minister. No, you're not targeting just the prime minister. You are targeting actually the entire country. You are targeting patriotism and nationalism as a concept in the country, which perhaps maybe was your original intention. I don't know. But that is what it appears to be now. Therefore, you're not targeting a single person, as you keep on saying that this prime minister has no political will to wage war against Pakistan. That's not the point. The beneath the surface, the real point is you are targeting the entire nationalistic spirit of the country. And then, therefore, from this point, as I've already spoken about what happened yesterday, let me come to the real crux of the matter. And this is what I want to talk to you a little bit about. That why are these approaches between the Congress party, especially in the opposition? And I'm certainly saying again and again, not all opposition parties carry the same message. And certainly certain members of the Congress party within the Congress party also don't agree. We have seen the case of Dr. Shashi Tharoor and so many other members of parliament of the Congress party who don't share the same vision as Mr. Rahul Gandhi, but that's a separate story. But the fundamental difference between the ruling party of today, between the present government of today, and between the Congress party is this. And I want to talk a little bit about that. See, in the Prime Minister's vision, we are now shedding the tag of a soft state. We are becoming, I don't want to use the word hard state because it has other connotations, but we are becoming like, I'll give you two very interesting examples. We are becoming like a beehive. What is a beehive? A beehive, if you did not know, produces honey, of course, but it is perhaps one of the most efficient working systems in the world. all the bees are working in coordination. There is, of course, the queen bee. And there is certainly a man on the top. The man on the top is the prime minister in our country. But everything is working in sync, in coordination. They are working towards an objective and they are safeguarding the hive. They are producing honey. And similarly, that is the concept of the modern Indian state today under the present government. You're working like a beehive. There is emphasis on governance, on productivity, on defense, on commerce. And therefore, it's not a hard state in that particular sense, but it is a state where you cannot mess around with it. And if anybody messes around with this state, or if anybody puts their hand in the beehive, in what is called in Hindi, कि कोई उस छत्ते में अगर अपना हाथ डालता है, that person is going to get stung. And this is what exactly happened to Pakistan, where we gave it back to Pakistan because they messed around with us. They played with the lives of innocents in Pahalgam. That is the concept of the present state, of the present government, the vision of the present government. And what is the vision of the Congress Party? For the vision of the Congress Party is that India should remain a soft state. I wouldn't even say a soft state. Soft state is a terminology which we use from the old. I think in the present dispensation, which is leading the Congress Party, the vision is to make India like an amoeba like state, which is constantly changing shape, size, which has no particular distinct entity. It is constantly changing, evolving, dissolving. And why would they want that? The reason for that is very, very simple. The reason for that is that let a degree of certain chaos continue. Let there be a little bit of divisions which are going on. Let all these things continue, because then it is not governance, it is not your army, it is not your police, it is not your administration, it is not your regulatory framework of the country which steps in to organize things. It is the dynastic principle that moves in to save the nation. That is the trick. That is the real reason why I think the opposition, especially the Congress Party, wants India to remain a soft state. Be like a soft state, don't be a hard state, because always look up to the dynasty, to the dynastic principle to save the country from internal chaos and from external aggression. And of course, the way they do the external aggression, we got an idea of that, what happened after 2016. If you know what Manmohan Singh did after that, he did absolutely nothing, as we all know. And in fact, he went to Sharm el Sheikh, and some of the most outrageous statements were made in that particular conference. That's the concept. And therefore, in that sense, what you're really doing is you are actually compromising with the enemy. You are in the name of economic development. You say, oh, no, 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 but I want to focus on economic development. I have no time for militarizing the army. When it comes to China, for instance, you said that why do we need to build the border infrastructure? Just avoid clashing with the Chinese. If they want something or whatever, just look the other way and, don't mess around with the Chinese. Don't build the border infrastructure. This used to be the thinking in the earlier days. Those are all the traits of a soft state. And that was a state of being. And this is the state of being which the present dispensation, which is controlling the Congress Party, wants in the country. They certainly don't want a beehive. They certainly don't want a hard state, a state which fends off external aggression, which tackles the internal enemies also firmly. They don't want that. And that is the fundamental clash. We keep talking of, there's a term which is being used, which is used by many people, called clash of civilization. This is the real clash of ideologies, the real clash between, I think, the BJP and the Congress Party. It's this concept of a hard state versus a soft state. This is the real big, big difference between these two parties. And this is what the LOP has been. There was something else which I noticed. Initially, when the defense minister was speaking in parliament yesterday and other speakers from the ruling party, and a lot of statements were given about the armed forces, the LOP was sitting like this, with hands like this, in this casual manner, wearing this trademark white t-shirt. Fail to understand why you should be wearing t-shirts in a formal setting like the parliament. But he was. And not, I didn't see him clapping. I did not see him in thumping the desks in Parliament to support our armed forces. Why not? Why don't you do that? And that is what I'm saying. You get this feeling again and again that these people are not proud of our armed forces, the sacrifices, the valor which they display again and again. Whenever they're called to do that, they don't do that. And this is the fundamental difference. And that is the ideology, that is the thinking. And obviously, this thinking dovetails with a certain far left, socialistic kind of thinking where you are constantly in the name of caste and creed and religion. You are juggling around. You are giving importance to certain communities, and then talking rubbish about others. I mean, this is an old game. It's nothing new. This has been done for centuries now. Uh, but it still continues, it still carries on. And you would have thought that in 2025, all this was behind us. We are entering into a new age, into the new technology, new information age, all that. But both things change more, they remain the same, especially for entities like the Congress party. And therefore, it is distressing because you do really, at the end of the day, you want a strong opposition. Because having again one party which is constantly winning all the time is also not the most healthy thing for a democracy. But then what happens? This is what we get in parliament. We get where the fundamentals of the country, which this country has been built upon, patriotism, which incidentally was the credo of the Congress party, especially under Indira Gandhi. I wouldn't really say, even Rajiv Gandhi, I would say to that extent. I wouldn't talk about Nehru so much, certainly not Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, but definitely Rajiv Gandhi and definitely Indira Gandhi. Nationalism was the credo. That nationalism has been given a bye-bye by the Congress party. Patriotism is not a word which is comfortably used in those environs. And therefore, it is sad to see what our main opposition parties are doing today. It is really, really sad because we do need, as I said, a strong opposition. So basically, in summation and towards the end, I would say that this is ultimately therefore a clash really of ideology to a certain extent. It's a clash of a way of thinking. And how does the Congress party do that? They do that by just reiterating a bunch of made up facts, figures, data points, etc. It's a Goebbelsian tactic. The German, if you remember the German propagandists, it's the same thing. You keep repeating a lie so many times that it starts appearing like a truth. And therefore, that lie, especially that big lie, Rafale shot down. Nobody knows, as I said, till the number, how many, if any, were shot down in the first place. You keep on repeating that. And now this thing which he is going to start saying this, every forum where he's going to go, oh, India surrendered and Modi surrendered to Pakistan. You keep on repeating this Goebbelsian lie again and again. And therefore, in the end, what you do is you do all this to divide society. You create certain communities that you encourage them. You create certain groups. If you remember the farmers' agitation to clash with the government, all this is part of that plan to keep society boiling all the time, as it were, to see that a degree of chaos is always there. There is a state of ferment which is always going on in the nation state. That ideas like nationalism, patriotism, the might of the military, internal good policing, all these don't take root in the country because then it serves the interests of certain political entities. This is what is going on. This is really the story beneath the surface of what happened in Parliament yesterday. And so, on this note, I come to the end of this podcast. I hope you liked it. You like my show, of course. Do subscribe to it. And on this note, it's goodbye and cheers from my end.